The curse of the modern artist is that art is undervalued in our current world. So how do you get around that? Hey creators, Aimon here, and this is where I help you master your creative mindset. Let's get into it. So why is art undervalued? You know, everywhere you go, on every street corner, in every cafe, at every music venue, there's art, right? And it changes your perception of the world, you know, as you move through it. And it directly impacts your emotions on a moment-to-moment basis. And if you think about a world without art, it's pretty bleak, isn't it? You know, I'm talking music, paintings, literally anything. You wouldn't want to live in that world. Be some kind of dystopian capitalist regime. You know, the idea of that sounds pretty sad, right? You wouldn't want to live in that world. I wouldn't want to live in that world. And even though art is everywhere, it's pretty apparent that art is undervalued, or at least devalued. You know, people do not put the true value of art on it. And they just go about their day-to-day life trying to create value in the form of money, because that's what's rewarded by society, right? And this is a huge problem for you and I, because we are creatives and we are artists and we were born that way. And then we cultivated this skill, and it just so happens that it's much harder to actually make a living off of your art, right? And I'm not saying you have to live in a mansion or drive an awesome car or whatever it is. You know, if that's your goal, then maybe chase that, whatever. But I just want a roof over my head and to feed myself each week. Don't want anything fancy, you know what I'm saying? And I want to be able to make art to do that. But it's not super accessible because art is undervalued. You know, that's a huge problem. You know, music venues get shut down left and right because people are living in the district where the music is happening when the music was there first, and then they complain, or at least that's what's happening in my city. And it's like, what is going on? Because the music was there first. And the fact that people complaining can just get a music venue shut down, even though that art is creating value for people in the form of an emotional experience and, you know, a release from your week at work or whatever it may be for that individual person. People are so quick to complain and try and get that thing shut down, you know, when they're not even perceiving the potential value that it's creating. You know, and when I was younger and I would tell someone passionately about what I'm working on right now, instead of, that's really cool, man, like I can't wait to hear it or see it, show it to me when it's done, their immediate response is, you know you're never going to make money from that thing. What kind of culture is that where people, their initial response is to try and beat you down and stop you from doing the thing that you love? So what is the solution to this? You know, what if you are in a position where you want to make money from your art, or you want to make a living or anything, but it's near impossible? Well, there's a number of things that you can do to help change this paradigm in the world. You know, and we all play a role in this story. And it's important that you do play a role as well. And you might play the card of like, nothing matters, why would I do this, Aimon? Well, you could have that attitude, or you could flip it on its head. So there's three main things that I try and do as often as possible to ensure the world and everyone around me is aware of the true value of art. Now, the first thing is talking about art. So whenever you walk past street art, whenever you're hearing a song, whenever you're doing anything that involves art, watching a movie, you know, going to the cinemas, right? Get fully immersed in that experience. Even if you're walking down the street and there's a whole wall of art, take a second to stop and take it in. And whoever you are with, they're going to witness you actually stopping and taking in that art, even if it's for a quick second, because that art came from somewhere. You know, someone made that from nothing. And yeah, they might have been paid by the government to do it or whatever, but the fact is it is still art and it is there. And that is amazing because it's bringing color and life and positive emotions to your world and affecting the way you move through the world. So if you can stop and appreciate it, and then maybe ask the question, what does that mean? What do you think that means? Why is that there? Who made that? You know, I wonder. Maybe do a little digging and try and find their Instagram and leave a couple of likes or a comment or something like that. It takes slim to no effort to do these things, but potentially has a huge impact on the world, or at least the person or people that you are with. You know, because as I said, it's the normal paradigm to just go about your life and not appreciate art. You know, and if it's music, like, and you're at a gig, obviously socialize with your friends and whatever, but really pay attention to what the performer is doing, and how they are trying to inflict an emotional experience on you. And then bring that up with your friends. How did that set impact you? Oh, I really love this transition between this track, and that made me feel like this. Talk about how things make you feel. And again, that's just creating that conversation, talking about art, talking about the value of art. And it might be hard because you're kind of in a bubble of friends that do actually appreciate art, but this is what I'm saying, you have to bring it up as often as possible. Ask people about their art. What are you creating right now? Why are you creating that? Why did you create that? Where did that come from? But the second thing is put your art out into the world. It's one thing to create art, or it's one thing to want to create art, but if you can take that next step and actually do the creation of the thing, regardless of the level that you think that you are at, and then take the next step and put it out into the world. And this comes back to content theory, which I've talked about on the channel before and on the MetaMinds podcast, where, putting things out into the world on social media and just your art in general is going to create a lot of opportunities for you, in short. Creating a lot of content about that thing, and sharing it with the world, doing whatever you can to get it into the eyes or ears of the people that you think it's actually going to impact. Because we don't just create things for nothing, we create them for a reason, and it comes from an emotion or it comes from an experience, right? And that can translate to somebody else across the world as well, which is crazy. They don't even speak your language, you know what I'm saying? And people are just not keen to pay a lot of money for art. Pay artists in a professional setting as much as they deserve to be paid. Because as I said, without art, the world would be a pretty bleak place. And unfortunately, because it doesn't directly add to the bottom line of big business, it is super undervalued. So that's the second thing, is put your art out into the world as much as you can and share it, and ask your friends to actually, make a comment on it or share it as well. It doesn't even matter if, your intention is to make money from that thing, but maybe it will affect one person and it will inspire them to create one thing. And that ripple effect can just go on forever and ever, and you won't even see what the actual impact of that thing is, So just the act of creating without limitations, because as I said at the start, there's a lot of limitations. People will just be like, you can't do that. And then that builds up in your head, and then you convince yourself that you can't do that. And you got to crush through those. You got to see them for what they are and break through them and actually do the thing, which is hard. And I've realized this, which is why I'm here, asking you to do the same thing, because it's important for you, but also for everyone else and the world, so that more people can see the value of art. So the third thing is to actually value your own art. Now, obviously this comes with some self-awareness of where you're at in your journey. If you just started painting at a paint and sip last week, maybe charging for your art is not where it's at, but maybe it is, I'm sure there's someone out there that would, pay top dollar for that thing. I don't know, maybe me. Hit me up with your paint and sips. Comment below. I might buy it. But no, seriously, if you've been producing music for 10 years or so, which I'm getting close to, a couple of years off, and it's kind of only occurred to me recently, at the start of my journey, I'm like, oh, all music is free. You have to put it out there and it will, it will get noticed and then more people will see it. But it's like, at some point you have to start valuing your own art. And just the act of you valuing your own art is going to change the perception from other people. I came from a place where I was like, oh no, nothing I create is of value. So, I'll just put it out there and maybe something will happen. But I've started to actually value my art much more recently. And I put a price tag on it. And when someone hits me up for a song that I made, instead of being like, here it is, man, I'm like, yeah, you can buy it on Bandcamp right here. And 9 out of 10 people actually buy it because it's 99 cents or whatever it is, And 5 of those means 1 coffee from me, okay? But no, really, regardless of the price, the more you value your art, the more other people will see that you actually invest a lot of your time into this skill, which does create actual value into the world. And again, this will have a ripple effect and create a higher perception of art in the world, even if it's in your small bubble. But again, you don't know the true impact of that because it will ripple out. And more people will see that you're charging for your music. Oh, so maybe I should charge for my music, or your films, or your LUTs, or whatever it may be. So back to the problem at hand, art is devalued. And if you've been an artist for 5 minutes, you probably know this. So sorry if it's not new, but maybe it's a reminder, that we do need to value art, or you're forgetting to value art. And it's important to just create the conversation a little more often, because maybe it will have an impact. And maybe more people will create art, and maybe art will be valued even more. Maybe we'll live in this crazy utopia where art is the main form of value. Probably not, but one can dream, right? So yeah, thanks for watching this episode of Creative Philosophy. This is where I help you master your creative mindset. My name's Aimon, and I'll see you in the next episode.